Mabuhay Lizami. My name is Veronica, host of this podcast, Everything is Political, broadcasting here at Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. You know it, you're hearing my voice. It's the second Wednesday of the month. And for this month, it's actually going to be very interesting and meaningful for us Filipinx. So it's Filipino Heritage Month. It's Pride Month for a lot of nations, I would say. I mean, here in Montreal, it's in August, but it's also Indigenous History Month. And this is Everything's Political. So I'm going to be trying to connect those three big celebrations, the intersections for us as Filipinx, and why this matters for us. For so for me to begin with, I actually want to just read Fran Stoner's post. So it's a post that is available on her Instagram account, and talking about why this matters for us as someone who is d'origine Philippine. So as Filipino Heritage Month opens, we in Sant Kapwa here at Radyo Kapwa want to take this moment to honor someone whose legacy continues to shape our community, Tita Paulina Corpus. It is because of her vision, persistence, and love for the Filipino people that Filipino Heritage Month exists in Canada. At a time and space where our histories, cultures, and contributions are recognized and celebrated, we extend our deepest gratitude and love to her spirit, her family, and the community she uplifted. Her impact lives on every celebration, every gathering, and every young Filipino who sees themselves reflected in our stories. To all the titas, the ates, the ninangs, the inays, and the nanays who may feel like a grain of sand in the vastness of this country, know that you move mountains. You carry generations. You are the quiet architects of change, the embodiment of kapwa, and the heart of our communities. Maraming salamat po. And I would like to add that mothers are considered ilaw ng tahanan. And ilaw means light, but it also means fire. Like light not does not just generate light, but it generates heat. So that is our mother for you. And for those who wants to know more, who is Paulina Corpus? She was a Toronto-based community leader, co-founder, and president of Philippine Advancement Through Arts and Culture, or we call it PATAC. She dedicated her life to raising awareness about the realities in the Filipino diaspora, as well as the promotion and celebration of Filipino culture. In 2016, she raised the idea for June to be recognized as Philippine Heritage Month with Ontario New Democratic Party member of provincial parliament. In 2017, the Filipino Heritage Month motion was introduced by Councillor Nitan Shan with the help and support of Tita Paulina. On October 30th, 2018, with the support of Member of Parliament Salma Zahid, Motion 155 was passed. The month of June was declared as Filipino Heritage Month nationwide. Through her tireless leadership, PATAC created impactful initiatives. Tita Paulina outstanding contributions earned her several awards. She was an active volunteer for various organizations, including the Filipino Workers Network and the Philippine Independence Day Council. Paulina Jocelyn Toribio Balisi Corpus passed away on November 6 at the age of 59. Her gift to the Filipino-Canadian community is a powerful legacy of the celebration of culture and the importance of its preservation. So this is available also on our Sant Kapwa Instagram page, as well as Fran Stoner, who is our executive director. So yeah, I forgot to also mention, today I am joined by
The wife.
Yes, hi wife, or I will wife you up. And
Hey.
we're going to be having more conversations in regards to these three big celebrations that's happening here in the month of June.
Hi, everybody. As Vero said, June is Pride Month, Filipino Heritage Month, and Indigenous History Month. So those are three separate things that are connected, but I think we should tackle them separately first. Even though, let's be real, they all deserve their own month, but this is all we get. Okay, so we're gonna tackle all three.
I mean, I'm pretty happy about it because I feel like it also intersects to who I am. So I'm okay with it, to be honest, because I feel like June is a celebration of me.
Yeah,
I'm queer, I'm Filipino, and technically speaking, I'm indigenous in the Philippines.
yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. First, I'd like to talk about Indigenous History Month because in so called Canada, I guess most people, the general population, doesn't really have a connection to Indigenous folks, Indigenous history, Indigenous issues, other than the obvious connection, which is that we live and work and play and enjoy the lands and waters that have historically been under Indigenous stewardship.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, I want to add that indigenous stewardship is literally the key to fighting climate change, and it's the reason we have what we have today, other than how it's been damaged, let's say. For those of you that may not be in Montreal or, uh, let's say, like Eastern Ontario, in the recent week, our air quality has been disgusting.
Yep.
It's really serious. And that's because provinces west of us have been dealing with over 500 wildfires that have ignited all over. And that has reflected in our air quality. The sun looks so weird in the sky. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I already said it on air before when I was talking about my experience being in LA, and we know that in LA they've had some wildfires. They've had several at this point.
Three big ones ignited right when we were leaving after New Year's.
Oh gosh, thankfully that we were able to leave. But anyway, I do remember suffering. I had to wear a mask on. I've had persistent headache at that time, and
Mind
I
you, neither of us have asthma or any like respiratory illnesses, so like it would have been much worse.
yeah. So I think it was Friday that
Mm.
we've had. So just the past week that passed Friday, we've had several notifications of the air quality being really bad. And I actually ended up wearing a mask once again. And our office was on a fifth floor, so if you look at over the horizon by the window, it does look very foggy, and it's reddish too.
Honestly, just at street level, it looks like there's something in the air. You can see it, which
It
is
really
wild.
makes you think of having good air quality and how we take that for granted. I mean, I'm from the Philippines, so I am aware of air quality, and I feel we've had this conversation. People sometimes have taken it for granted what we've had here in Montreal and how people are losing their shit, losing their control over traffic. Like we've had so much worse things right now. Not to discredit them, but I feel like it's more of a work of having patience and emotional intelligence rather than just losing your shit and honking at people because the stop everyone's respecting the stop and you don't want to stop. Anyway, I'm
Yes.
going off
No, no.
tangent.
I just want to say that let's not compare ourselves to the worst, right? Like let's
Right.
let's improve things. Just because things are worse in the US, things are worse in the Philippines doesn't mean we can't be working forward
For the
here
best.
in Canada.
Yeah.
But coming back to wildfires, I want to quote a recent post by Coralie Laperrière, who posted on Instagram recently. So Coralie is an eco-feminist activist, author, comedian, and former schoolmate of mine actually, here in Tochage. I'm gonna translate her post so we can get to the meat of it. It reads, "It's wild to read in the media about wildfire season. It used to just be called summer. It's as if we're trying to normalize something abnormal. It's as if a violent boyfriend told his girlfriend, 'It's not my fault, honey. It's just slaps in the face season.'" So her Instagram is full of these interesting quips if you want to look at it. It's mostly in French. It's ANAR_Coco. Basically, I remember reading about wildfires in BC when we were first hearing about it here on the East Coast. And I remember reading on the BC government website, they had an entire section of their website dedicated to proper behavior and like fire handling behavior during what they called wildfire season. And I thought it was wild then, but it still gets me today. Like truly, it's kind of crazy. And so I want to encourage a general reflection this month and the following months, the entire year, and the years to come, about colonial land mismanagement, capitalist resource over extraction, and the sidelining of indigenous knowledge, because they managed the land before we came here as settlers, and they were doing a damn good job. And I do think that their knowledge is the key to saving our species from extinction and managing climate change.
I mean, in our land acknowledgement, there is a reason why we say they are the steward of water and land, and in certain lingos that we also use is that they are the defender of land and water that we are all benefiting from. And this is where it actually came from, because we call them First Nation for a reason. They have been originally here. They know how the land is. They've had relationship. They have had and still having relationship with the land, the water. And so, yes, I wholeheartedly agree that indigenous practice is what will save us and will, I hope, ameliorate our environment.
So like I said, not only can we learn from them, but handing back the land will save our species in the long run. So land back in June, in July, in August, and every month after that.
Throughout the year.
Thank you. I'm getting off my soapbox. Do you want to talk about pride, my love?
Well, you and I are both queer.
Yeah.
I think if our dear listeners did not still hear that, or did not realize that we are queer.
Oh, no, because we're wife and wife. Clearly we have husbands somewhere.
Yes, obviously, here in Montreal, we celebrate Pride Month in the month of August. So technically speaking, we're just going to be in Pride mode from June, July, and then August.
Yeah.
So let's for our dear listeners who's interested to what we have to hear, you will hear us just right after this commercial break. And we're back. Thank you to our dear sponsors for the commercial break. And we're coming back to our experiences, Pride. I mean, it's to surprise of no one that we're going to talk about how important it is and the representation that it covers a lot of people. So let's talk about our Pride experiences, both as an individual, but also as a couple. I think, I don't remember exactly when. I think it was 2017. No.
2016 was your first
2016.
Pride. Before we met, right?
No, yeah.
You witnessed the parade, but
That's
you didn't
true.
participate.
That's true. That was 2016. So that was 9 years ago.
Woohoo.
And I remember I was with a friend who is out and very proud bisexual. And another friend of mine, I would say she won't put any label, although she's only dated men.
But that doesn't take away from bisexuality. If bisexuality there is,
I know, right?
let's not speak for her.
That's true. And then it was me. I think it was me, and then there's another friend, and that other friend has been in long-term relationship for longer than us, actually. So, I mean, I'm not going to speak for the experiences of my friends, but they were my friends whom I was with when I'm not entirely sure what my sexual orientation at that time. And that is because I was not really exposed to what does I mean, I know what gay means and I know what lesbian means, and default I guess I would know what bisexual means. And then after that I don't know. Like I don't know about trans, I don't know queerness, and at that time I feel like that's a bad word too. Mind you, I'm an immigrant, so English is also not my first language, so it was very complicated for me. But my high school friends and I went there, and we were just those people who were by the side, by the road. We didn't
The
really
voyeur.
the voyeur, and I still had long hair at that time. I remember it fully. One of the first one of the memories I've had at that time was I remember walking to one of the dep, and the owner of the dep was Asian, and everyone knows that there's pride happening, and he saw me and he goes, "Ah, you're going to the pride?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Okay, have fun." And coming from an Asian uncle to hear that, be it authentic or not, it's
It still felt special.
it felt a bit special for me. And I remember I even put the rainbow color on my face, and just like holding the little flag and being like, hey.
You wanted the authentic pride experience.
I know, right?
Like in the movies.
Like in the movies, yes. And it was really good, rejuvenating, so much freebies. But I also do remember that it was very white. And it doesn't matter because for me, it's pretty much white people in here, in my defense at that time.
You mean in Montreal?
In Montreal, yes. And I was like, okay, it's fine, but it was overall a good experience. Now, when that pride finished, obviously my friends and I were like, okay, let's go home. You know, it's not as if we went to the after party. We weren't about that at that time. I wasn't a party person anyway at that time. And I do remember other people who are probably my age as well, aggressively erasing, you know, those rainbow
The glitter.
the glitter and those kind of things. And at some point I unconsciously start rubbing off the rainbow color on my face too, because I was afraid of what my parents would say. And at that time, again, I'm an Asian. Just to preface this to everyone who's listening, it's very hard to ask for our parents' permission to get out. So you gotta go explain why you're going out, where you're going out, from when, to whom. You gotta go give the name of the people you're going with and possibly their numbers if they didn't have it yet. So I was really scared at that time, but in my head I'm like, I gotta go check them out. I gotta go see what's up. That was my first Pride experience. I still have a photo of that with my high school friends and I, and we hold that dearly. I think every time I look at it, it heals me a bit to see that, you know, 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, I still went, you know, even though I'm not entirely sure how my parents would react, I went. I was like, fuck it. I want to see how things are. And that was like an explosion of experience and exposure, actually, because there's just so many different people. There were people, same-sex parents with their kids or children, people out and about, very much full of confidence. Actually, it's exuding of confidence. And in my head, I'm like, I already feel confident, but I want to be like them. And what really what attracted me to them is the fact that it feels like it's their authentic self. I think that was the one that really made me feel like they don't give a fuck.
They feel free.
They feel free. Yeah, that's a key word here. They feel free, and
They're not
for me,
conforming.
and for me to, you know, erase the color on my face and seeing other people, by the way,
Do the same.
do the same, makes me think that there are still lots of works to be done. But doing this pride and the march and the parade pierced through that heteronormativity that I was exposed to and socialized to and grew up with. So that was my experience, love, my first pride. And I think at that time we were already talking to each other.
I think so. Or it might have been like really just before, because it was in August.
Yes, I think you were at New York at that time.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Because I do remember, yeah, that might have been 2016.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, so it must have been the year before that, 2015, probably, that I didn't attend any like official Pride events, but there was a Pride coded event at this alternative club on Saint Laurent that I don't think they made it through the pandemic. But that was
Ouch.
like my little like dipping of a toe in it. You know, like at this point, I think I had been going on dates with women. It's all
Oh,
very fuzzy. 2015 was like rough for me. But I
those
think
10
we
years
can.
ago. You made it.
Oh my God, I made it. Feels good. So I
That's
think
good.
we can skip right to our first Pride together as a couple.
Oh,
Should I
okay.
preface this with like how we attended Pride? It was because at the time I was working for Interling, formerly known as CKUT, for those not in the know.
Yeah, you were doing internship.
Yeah, and I was organizing Pride events, which is kind of like throwing yourself in the deep end of the pool. Like I never really attended any official Pride events, and all of a sudden I was organizing one.
Yeah.
Like rough.
I felt that when you were really deep into that and you explaining your experiences, it made me feel emboldened to actually like, okay, I mean, I'm seeing you and I'm a lesbian and I don't know about you, but you seem to be on you know, into me and now
Well,
you're
this
doing
was
this.
2017. Remember, we were already official in 2017.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
we were dating. I had met many of your friends. You'd met many of my friends.
That's
And
true.
so introducing you to my coworkers at Interling was like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. And instantly all my coworkers were like, oh, well, you know, we're organizing these events, but do you want to actually march during Pride? And if so, do you want to bring your friends? And I was like, how many can I bring? And they were like, you can bring 30 people. We don't care.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go all out with 30 people because I don't think I know 30 people. But I'm the introvert in this relationship. But I did bring quite a few of my friends. And anyone who's seen Vero knows how photogenic Vero is.
Oh my
And so
God.
Vero ended up on the Interling Instagram with permission. But basically, this picture, which to this day is one of my favorite pictures of you holding this sign that we had gotten made for the march,
Yeah.
which was "I'm a woman who loves women,"
Yes.
and you carried this for like the majority of the march. You know, it was like a bulky sign, heavy,
Oh yeah, it was pretty heavy.
but you did it. And I remember clearly how happy you looked in that picture. And how good it felt to be open as a couple in front of all these people. And I was wondering actually recently, did you have any hang-ups around potentially, I don't know, walking in front of a CTV video camera of a reporter talking about Pride and your mom seeing you on TV? Because at the time you weren't out to your mom.
That's true. At that time, I do remember asking you not to tag me. So to this day, actually, I'm still not tagged on that photo, but I do know what photo that is. It was like a Zoom photo of my face, but I was like really, really happy. Every time I look at that photo, I do remember how freeing and free I felt. Holding that pancarte, Je suis une femme qui aime les femmes. Seeing your colleagues also just like seeing me very happy. And I feel like nowadays I see like other people who join us in the parade and really happy. I now know why your colleagues were looking at me like that too, you know, like everyone in a sense, kind of remembers their first time, or like their first time with their partners. And it's a very meaningful event, that's for sure, without thinking into the intersections of it being pretty much predominantly white, and at
A
this
white
point
organization also.
it's corporate pride.
Yes.
It's a marketing scheme. We've grown as queer people, especially as queer, sapphic, I would say, racialized. A lot of more and more collective is deviating away from this type of corporate pride, rightfully so. I would say, as a racialized person, we've now came to understand how it damages our community.
Well, especially because there have been so many, let's call it like reported and like publicized issues with specifically Pride Montreal as an organization.
Yeah, of
And
course.
because they have pretty much a monopoly over programming during August specifically, it in some cases it almost feels like a step back
Yeah.
to step back from that organization because you don't get to profit from that same level of visibility, that same level of representation, and whoever is left gets a lot of, let's say, like bite back from their community for choosing to side with the org, especially after there have been quite a few like high profile incidents.
I mean, they literally canceled Pride Parade maybe 1 hour or 2 hours before it
Actually
officially
was
had to
set.
start.
Yeah.
Yes. So
And that's
that was
purely because of mismanagement and specifically having a requirement within their organization to have the Service de Police de Montréal
yes.
involved.
And we do know that the police are the reason why we were Pride
started initially
Pride started, right?
because of police repression of queer folks. And I mean, to me, it kind of feels like nonsense to have police involved. I do understand, especially following events like Lapu Lapu Day in Vancouver, that like security risk is considerable. And I personally am willing to just skip the parade if I feel unsafe. I don't need the police there. And I feel like we don't necessarily need the parade for visibility anymore.
That's true. I
We
do
get
remember
more than August. We do.
I do remember, what is it? Was it at Charlottesville where a car ran over a group of people, and there was that anxiety of going into big events and obviously needing the resources of the police, which
Well,
is why.
Charlottesville in that case was like an anti-racist
Oh yeah,
protest, but same goes, right? Progressive organizations wanting to take more space in society and being violently repressed at the cost of lives, truly.
yeah. I mean, obviously, those are all necessary protections, but at this point, we know that we as a community will protect ourselves.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, we've seen what's happening right now in the States with ICE and how the community shows up to protect the community, and it's the same concept for queer people, racialized queer people. We protect ourselves, we have our resources, and we know how to protect ourselves. Yeah. But how was your experience with me as a couple in our first Pride?
I remember wanting to give a lot of space to your feelings around being visibly queer, even before
Yeah.
you were necessarily ready to come out to your mom, because at that time I had come out to my mom and my dad.
Oof.
And they were really happy about us going to Pride together. I remember like they knew how big of a deal it was. And my mom even mentioned like, okay, what if you're on camera at some point? How is that gonna work? And I mean, I don't know, luckily nothing happened.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, Do you think we had much to fear for?
No, not really. I mean, you being white as well, I think that in proximity with you, I get to have that sort of protection. I mean,
No, I mean specifically from your mother.
um, at that point, I was just scared. I was just scared. I was optimist that she would be like, ah, okay. But the reality is that it was not when basically I was forced to come out to my mom. Your mom basically offered
Our roof.
yeah, your home because your mom being a saint, an angel of herself,
Oh, she
knew
is.
knew how hard it is for people to come out. And I was in a sense heartbroken when I had to come out to my mom forcibly as well, and the reaction that she's had broke me as well. Now of course, grown up, she's accepted.
We've moved on. We're
We
we're
moved.
miles and miles
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
at the
for
time
sure.
we couldn't even conceive how far we would get on that front.
And at that time, like now as an adult, I have to give her space and grace. She needed to have that space to reflect and to think about it. Being her mini me being her mini me, she needed more time to reflect on that. But it took her about 5 years. But anyway,
But now she's talking about IVF, so
that's
you know,
true.
like that means we're getting somewhere, folks.
She needs
Congrats.
an apo. She wants an apo at this point.
Aw,
So she
we're her best bet.
yeah, that's true.
So coming back
Anywho,
to our first Pride as a couple,
mm,
I remember feeling really, really proud of you and proud of myself because my friends came with us
that's true.
and they were so supportive and just welcoming of us.
Yeah.
And it did feel special that it was with colleagues I respected as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I ever told you this, but one of our programs coordinators, she came up to me later and was like, this was really moving to see so many young people
Yeah.
together. So
I mean now as a 30-year-old I see younger youth queer. It does move me to see,
yeah, absolutely.
and when people say those who came before us, it sounds very repetitive at some point, but it really is very meaningful because there were people before you and me who fought for this. People
Living history. These
living
people are still
history.
alive.
People lost lives, people's loved ones are lost, battles after battles. To this day, we're still battling it. I mean, in the States at the moment, let's not even go that way because we're battling our own here in Canada with all of these provincial bills against trans youth, trans community, generally speaking. Even I feel this as
As a mask presenting
I'm
queer
mostly a
woman.
mask presenting, yes, and I sometimes have to exaggerate my femininity so that I wouldn't feel pointed out. Like I just need to pee. But you would feel it when some people are judging you or looking you up and down, thinking like, why are you here in this washroom? I'm like, did you not see my boobs, madam? Anyway, so it is a reality. Now more than ever, our trans community is really
Under attack.
being a punching bag, and it hurts to see this. And after this break, we're going to be talking about how the connection of being queer, being Filipino, and indigeneity, decolonizing queerness. So stay tuned, and we'll be back very, very shortly. And we're back from that commercial break. And before we went for a commercial, I was talking about now the intersection of Indigenous History Month and Filipino Heritage Month and Pride Month and the connection. And this, for me, which is why I said June sounds like me, because it also is a perfect opportunity to talk about my queer trans sisters, the Babaylans. So I have in front of me the book that is edited by Lenny Mendoza Strobel, And I just wanted to read the first few pages of this book, which basically touches the soul of like the indigenous way, the spirits and such. You know, to talk about who were our leaders. So, the Babaylans. What is a Filipino Babaylan? The Babaylan in Filipino indigenous tradition is a person who is gifted to heal the spirit and the body. The one who serves the community through to her role as a folk therapist, wisdom keeper, and philosopher. The one who provides stability to the community's social structure. The one who can access the spirit realms and other states of consciousness and traffic easily in and out of this world. The one who has a vast knowledge of healing therapies. The Babaylan intercedes for the community and individuals. She heals the body by recognizing the spirit that caused illness. Through shamanic rituals, she can call the lost of wandering soul back into the body. Through herbal medicine, she heals the physical body. Having the ability to know and communicate with ancestral spirits and the spirit world, she becomes a transmitter of knowledge from the different worlds, which then becomes a part of the collective cultural consciousness. And this is where the queerness comes in. The majority of Babaylan are women, and when men take on the same role and functions as they started during the Hispanic colonial period, they usually don women's garments. One can surmise that this shift in outerwear might be a symbolic of the privileged role of the Babaylan as a woman's domain. However, however, it can also be argued that this privileging of the female gender in this instance can be contested by citing a Filipino creation story where the creator split a bamboo and creates simultaneously male and female. In this sense, according to Catherine de Guilla, the the man Babaylan honors the mother goddess, Earth. When he approaches her and doing this develops his feminine side in order to balance his masculinity. And likewise, the woman Babaylan would develop her masculine side to stabilize her tenderness and all consuming compassion toward all life forms. This is why these women live alone in the fringe of the villages, the heads of the enemies on bamboo stakes, while the men, in ceremonial malongs, wore fragrant flower in their hair. This derives from the bilateral egalitarian kinship system that is the root of our indigenous culture. So, to make it short, our indigenous people have been queer. Queerness, in a sense, and the way that we know it in the language of English, is very modern. And this is where I want to plant the seed of decolonizing. When we decolonize, we find out who we are. And as a queer person, this is very affirming for me to know that our leaders in our community before the colonizers attempted to erase who we have been existing. And before I knew this word Babaylan from France, she was actually one of the first person to tell me that you are a Babaylan. And I never understood what she meant by that, but I've always had a huge respect with nature. I mean, you, Matilde, can attest it. I don't like killing spiders.
I'm the one who kills spiders in this household, and that's purely because I don't like them.
I, the animism in us, I believe that a lot of around us are living souls. And so I don't like harming anyone, anything, because I know that they have their own spirits. And to hear how the Babaylans are, in a sense, in between the material world and the spiritual world, they're kind of like the, not only the guide, but like the leader. And to be able to align your spirituality with your material self, which is your physical body, through talking, through herbs, And the the worst part is that when we talked about our babaylands, it sounded very primitive. But when we think about other communities in the Pacific Island, let's say the Japanese community, it was very respected. And I feel like the difference between the Japanese communities in their Shintoism and their animistic view is that we were colonized, and Christianity was basically forced on us, or you're dead. And so this is a good, perfect wraparound of how important, specifically for me, the month of June as a Filipino, as a queer person, but also as someone who is indigenous in the land of the so-called the Philippines. So I hope that our dear listeners have learned more things about the Philippines, about our queer ancestors, and about the indigenous communities here in Jojiage, Mohayal, our steward, our protectors of land and water. When we say they are the defenders, we mean it. We mean it because we've been living the repercussions of.
Their safeguarding of all of these natural resources that we depend on for our survival.
Yep. I don't even want to go and dwell over my shock culturel about water, but they have been defending water so that we can consume it safely. So this is a conversation for another day. But yes, if you're still listening, we hope that we didn't lose you, and we hope that you have some information to partake from this. And I hope that I have planted more seeds.
Enjoy June, guys. Stay safe.
And we bid our adieu. This is Veronica from Everything's Political, broadcasting here on Radyo Kapwa at CKUT 90.3 FM. I see you again next month, the second Wednesday of the month. Bye.
Bye.
Yo, what is up, my peoples? Let's get it. This is Fenny Crystal representing Radio Kapwa 90.3 FM CKUT, like we always do, every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. to help you get through the afternoon. Now, it's about that time of the show where we talk about what exactly is happening back home in the Phils. Our first story is written by Ahikam Pasion from the Rappler website, originally posted on June 6, 2025, and he reports fishermen stumble on massive drug haul off Pangasinan coast. It wasn't the police or narcotics agents who found them. It was three groups of fishermen who, within hours of each other on Thursday, June 5, pulled from the sea what authorities now believe to be hundreds of millions of pesos worth of shabu, also known as meth. The reports were confirmed by Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency PDEA Director General Isagani Nerez in an interview over Action Radio Pangasinan on Friday morning, June 6. The first incident occurred around 3 p.m. when three fishermen from barangays Balingasay and Lucente First in Bolinao were roughly 30 nautical miles from shore. They spotted several vacuum-sealed packs marked with Chinese characters floating on seawater. Following inspection and inventory, authorities estimated the recovered contraband to weigh around 130 kilograms, with a street value of approximately 884 million pesos. Later that same afternoon, in what authorities believe may be a related case, another group of three fishermen operating 19 nautical miles off Agno Town recovered a white sack floating in the sea. The fishermen brought the sack to shore and reported the find at 6 p.m. to Barangay Chairman Reggie Ramos of Falolaing Agno, who then notified the Agno Municipal Police Station. It did not end there. In the neighboring town of Bani, fishermen also turned over several bundles of suspected shabu. Now, the next story we want to bring to you was written by James Patrick Cruz on June 6, 2025, from the Rappler website again, and he reports, one of Manila's oldest fire stations demolished. The fire station in Santa Mesa, considered one of the oldest in Manila, was reduced to rubble to make way for the NLEX Connector project, according to a heritage advocacy group. Malanielos for Heritage, a heritage advocacy group, condemned the demolition of the centuries-old structure, calling it, quote, an irreversible loss, end quote. The group told Rappler on Friday, June 6, that the building was totally demolished this week, but the operation started at least 2 weeks ago. Built in 1919 and known as Station Number 8, the fire station was the last to be constructed during the American and pre-war era. According to the group, it preserved original firefighting tools and technology, offering a rare glimpse into Manila's early firefighting history. Under the National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009, structures over 50 years old can qualify as important cultural properties. The purpose of this law is to protect the buildings against exportation, modification, or demolition. Heritage advocates argued that the Santa Mesa fire station, given its age and historical value, clearly met this threshold. The group said it had outlined practical and feasible alternatives to keep the heritage building in a memorandum petition addressed to the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, but they did not get any response. Malanielos for Heritage said it is studying how the case could become a benchmark for public accountability under the National Cultural Heritage Act. Now, please note that we do not report the complete story, and these have just been snippets of the full articles. If you would like to access them in their entirety, you will find links within this episode's descriptions on YouTube or the CKUT website, or you can search for it on the Rappler official website. With that said, that ends the news portion of our show, and I think we're going to jump to commercial break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back before you even know it. This is Fenny Cristo, and you are tuned in to Radyo Kapwa on 90.3 FM CKUT. We'll return in a quick minute.
Hello, naimbag amalamyo amin, magandang hapon, marhay na adlaw, and bonjour. And welcome back from the commercial break. You're tuned in to Radyo Kapwa on CKUT 90.3 FM. This is Laura, back on the mic after a long while. I've always been here just in the background. Speaking of which, big shout-outs to Zoe and Oscar for joining the Radyo Kapwa team on the communications and the technical side of things. If you, the listeners, don't already know, we are a volunteer-run radio show, and the show would quite literally fall apart without the help, love, and care and support of all the volunteers dedicating their time and expertise to Radyo Kapwa, as well as you, our listeners, who give us your time and ears. Thank you all for tuning in and for supporting us. And do let us know at Radyo Kapwa_MTL on Instagram if there is anything you want to hear more of on Radyo Kapwa. That being said, if you're just tuning in, you are joining us for the final segment of our show, being the upcoming community events happening in Jojake, Montreal. Starting with June 11 from 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., which is today and actually happening right now at Jamaican Association at 4065 Rue Jean Talon West. So you are invited to Neighborhood Table Agora. An opportunity to take a friendly moment before starting exchanges was had in the form of a collective lunch at 12 p.m. Currently, at the Neighborhood Table Agora, they are addressing, among other things, the Collective Impact Project, PIC. To register, visit their Instagram page at cdc.cdn. An agenda should be available at this time. Following is June 13 from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Black Healing Center. The Black Healing Center is hosting an open mic night, a vibrant space for Black, queer, and trans folks to share their art, poetry, spoken word, and more. Join them every second Friday of the month to share your voice. With the inspiration of space and video games, Juice is a self-taught beatmaker, digital artist, singer, and hip-hop DJ. Through their art, their goal is to tap into the universe and explore what creativity means to them. Juice aims to create a magical and ethereal experience through their art. PWYC event. Nobody will be refused at the door. So pay what you can is what PWYC means. So nobody will be refused at the door. Open to all Black folks, but priority given to queer and trans people. To RSVP, visit their Instagram page at Black Healing Center, spelt as BLACKHEALINGCENTRE. The following day, on June 14, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Artext's Reading Room, join Sweet Like Honey MTL for a roundtable panel workshop alongside Montreal queer activists, community workers, and artists from Grind Her Helem. Following the panel will be a brainstorming session about potential queer events, protests, performances, etc. For more information, visit their Instagram page at Sweet Like Honey MTL, spelled as SweetLikeHoneyMTL, LMTL HELEMTL, and Artext, ARTEXTE. The upcoming events in the following weeks, you have June 18 from 8 p.m. via Zoom. Join Bahaghari_Phils and at Pinay Collection for Ang Pride ay Protesta. Pride is a protest, an online educational discussion that traces the radical roots of pride in the Philippines and grounds it in the lived realities of the LGBTQIA+ Filipinos today. From the defiant 1994 Pride March in Manila to the everyday struggles against state violence, religious conservatism, and economic justice, this session will explore how queer and trans Filipinos have always been part of movements for liberation. We'll dive into historical milestones, current issues facing the community, and the importance of reclaiming pride as a protest, not just a celebration. All are welcome. Zoom link will be sent to the participants' inbox upon registration. Check out their Instagram page to register at Bahaghari_Phils, spelled as BAHAGHARI_Phils, PHILS, and at Pinay Collection, spelled as PINAYCOLLECTION. The following day, June 19, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Brique par Brique, join L'Astérix for an in-person celebration spotlighting powerful short films created by Black 2S LGBTQIA+ youth. This day intentionally aligns with Juneteenth, honoring Black liberation, and leads into National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st, recognizing the vital contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We gather to celebrate, reflect, and uplift voices that have always fought for our freedom. We would be viewing films made by Black 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals and eating food catered by an Indigenous catering company and the Black Catering Company. To register, visit their Instagram page at _L'Astérix, spelt as _LASTERISK. Also, on July 19th, CKUT Zine Fair is happening again, back for its second year. It is a gathering for Filipinx AO zinesters, makers, and artists to share their works and discover others who share the same passion for small-scale self-publishing and DIY culture. Ka Collective is Centre Kapwa's artist collective and are looking for Filipinx AO zinesters. So if you're interested, please visit their Instagram page at __collective, spelled as KA__COLLECTIVE. Following this event, join the Black Healing Center and at Sweet Like Honey MTL for Mask Off, an intentional space for BIPOC masculine queer folks, including studs, butches, trans masc individuals, trans men, stems, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people to be in community. We'll screen The Aggressives, a groundbreaking documentary exploring gender and identity, followed by a real and reflective discussion led by artists and host Stacey Baragangana. To register for free, visit their Instagram pages at Sweet Like Honey MTL, spelled as SWEETLIKEHONEYMTL, as well as at Black Healing Center, spelled as BLACKHEALINGCENTRE. Following this event, the following day, calling all hotties who vibe with the lesbian/sapphic experience, Sweet Like Honey once again warmly welcoming our entire 2S LGBTQ+ family and the friends and allies who love us. Come through and celebrate 4 sweet years with them. Sweet Honey Buckin'. Sweet Honey Buckin' is for us to be bold, beautiful, buckin', and free. Let's ride, honey. To get your ticket, visit their Instagram page at Sweet Like Honey MTL, spelled as SWEETLIKEHONEYMTL. Following that is further along, we've got June 24th from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Dikimor. You'll join Brick par Brick once again for a free, family-friendly celebration of culture, creativity, and community. Expect a full day of diverse programming, exciting performances, delicious food, and activities for all ages. From their community discussions to film sessions, please stay tuned and check out their Instagram pages at BriqueXBrique, spelled as BRIQUEXBRIQUE, and Monsoon Festival MTL, spelled as MONSOONFESTIVAL MTL. And last but not least is Cultura Montreal. So join the Filipino-Canadian Artists Association of Quebec, FCAAQ, for Cultura Montreal on June 28th from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. This is a free all-day event taking place at the DeCarry Square. The meetup spot is the Vision Center. There will be live DJ sets by Fenny Cristo at Zamboangueña. There will be a talent show at the DeCarry Theater, a special panel on taboo topics with Radyo Kapwa. Also at the theater, there will be Filipino vendors and a mini art exhibit, as well as a library with books by Filipino authors with Aklatan Go, free jiu-jitsu classes by Clark Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, kids activities with BAM Studio, and last but not least, Cultura Montreal's main event, Filipino music through the years, featuring Pamana, Panday Tinig, and Le Carls. So don't miss out on that event, as how often do we get to have a free event filled with activities for the Filipino community? I am so stoked to see you guys there. And that's it for the community announcements. So thanks for listening all the way through, and I hope to see you at one of these events. This has been Laura from Radyo Kapwa here on CKUT 90.3 FM. We'll see you guys again next Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. Mabuhay!